Retirement is a brand new season of life, one full of opportunities. Time for adventure and relaxation. It's a chance to discover who you are, how you want to live, and how to find enjoyment and fulfillment in this next stage of life. Join retiree advisor Len Haidachok on a journey to understand what's possible in retirement and how to achieve your life goals, hopes, and dreams for this exciting new chapter. This is MaxAMAZING Your Retirement with Len Haidachok.
So glad you're here with us today for another exciting opportunity to maximize your retirement. Len Haidachok is a certified financial planner practitioner and certified life coach and a retiree advisor. He is the founder of Dedicated Financial Services. On the show today, Len will share his unique perspective on how we should define and approach preparing for retirement and some of the things we need to be watching for. Len, so happy to have you on the show today. Looking forward to this.
Glad to be here today.
So this is going to be a good one, Len. Let's talk a little bit about, from what you hear, what is it that people want out of their retirement?
You know, it's interesting. People want different specific things, but what I think everyone wants is to enjoy the retirement. Mm-hmm. They also want to have a fulfilling retirement, but sometimes they don't realize that's what they want.
Okay, because they are a little bit different, and we might be so focused on the enjoyment that we kind of lose sight of that fulfillment piece of it. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I have found, working with literally thousands of folks, that people sort of equate the two of them, mm-hmm. and they think that by having more enjoyment, they're having more fulfillment, but it's like two different categories of things. It's
right.
it's
right.
like being hungry and having more water to drink. It's not
right.
going to fill you up.
Right, exactly. Tell me, Len, as we get into the show here today, MaxAMAZE Your Retirement, tell me the significance of the word MaxAMAZING. Where did that come from?
Well, it goes back to really what people want from retirement. They want to experience the enjoyment, and they want it to make it fulfilling. And so with the Life Money system that I developed, we talk about maximizing your enjoyment and experiencing the amazing fulfillment. So when we're maximizing our enjoyment and having amazing fulfillment, we're MaxAMAZING our retirement.
Okay. Bringing it together. So let's focus a little bit on that enjoyment part of this. How do you help people find ways to maximize their enjoyment in retirement?
Well, that's a really great question.
It sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, it is fun. I think people know what enjoyment is because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever they're doing, that's what they're enjoying. Because when you're retired and you have unlimited discretionary time to do whatever you want, you're going to do enjoyable things, right? You're not going to say, what should I do? Let me do something I don't want to do. And now you can do something that you want to do.
Right.
And so people have, things that they enjoy doing. But what I try and coach people to do is to be more strategic in how they enjoy themselves. And what I talk about is doing the things they enjoy the most with people they love the most. So when we have the enjoyment piece and the relationship piece, in that spot where they intersect is a sweet spot where they're having their maximized enjoyment in retirement.
And what's so interesting, Len, when you're having these types of conversations with people about enjoyment and fulfillment, I don't hear the words money in there anywhere. It's a very different approach that you have where you start with people.
Yeah. It's really interesting because sometimes we forget, and I work with people who tend to be a little bit better off, but I'm happy to help anyone. Sure. But there are folks that don't have a lot of discretionary income. So you would think, how do they enjoy retirement without money? Well, they enjoy it just like everyone else does. They enjoy it by doing the things they like to do the most with people they like to do it the most with. And that's how they maximize it.
Right, and that's not a money thing.
Not at all. But there are some things that we do need money for to enjoy life, right? And so again, it's up to people to decide what that looks like. Some people like to travel. If you travel, that could really run up a lot of money. But some folks, they don't have a lot of money to travel, so they'll maybe do something less fancy. People who have been to a lot of places, have experienced a lot of things, for them, they need something a little more exotic to break that threshold, right? So they may want to do something that costs more money. So there's not necessarily a correlation between enjoying yourself and spending money.
Right. It's just how you want to be spending your time. And I like that point about with who you're spending time with and the people you love, making the most out of that. Now, another piece that we want to be mindful of, Lynn, when we're thinking about retirement is the fact that these retirements that we're talking about, they last a lot longer than they used to. People are living longer. That means we might be retired longer. So how should that change some of our approach to retirement planning when we don't know exactly how long we'll be doing these things that we enjoy?
There's a lot of discussions here. When we're talking about financial planning to retirement, that's hours of discussion.
Yeah.
But we want to balance enjoying money and having, I call spending velocity, how we spend it, with also making it last. So there's a couple different strategies going on. One is an income strategy, one is an accumulation strategy, and those require different financial instruments, different financial approaches. Don't want to get into the financial products that we handle at this point, but it's just a realization that there's a balance, right? You don't want to be saving for the future, long term, because when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, so forth, I mean, what does long term mean? Right? So we want to, in a sense, we want to live in the present, but we also want to be thinking about the future. There's always a future, but a present that we want to enjoy.
Right. And we want to be able to enjoy that present, Lynn, I imagine, without worrying about the impact down the road. If I take the vacation now, if I do the extra trip with the grandkids now, is there a trade-off down the road? Will that impact me down the road? We need to be thinking about the long-term impacts and building all of that into the plan.
And that's where the financial planning comes in place, right? Because people want to feel like I can spend money, on this or that and not run out of money. And there's two extremes. There are people who spend and they're going to run out of money very soon. There are people who will never run out of money. But when people have a plan, they feel empowered to know that they can enjoy what they want to do. They can take that trip. They can do that experience and not be worried.
Right. And you talked earlier about people have different, perhaps, levels of spending. Sometimes you hear that it's less about the amount that we've saved and more about the way we're managing that savings and some of the strategies that we're using. I've heard that said before. Is that something that you'd agree with as well?
Sure. Obviously, how we invest our money is a big part, and we have a long-term, short-term strategy. Some of our funds, we want to have a short-term strategy because we want to access it in a few years, and some of our money we're not going to touch for another 10 years. It's interesting. People can be well into their retirement and still have a life expectancy of 10 years.
Sure.
So there's always an immediate term, a medium term, and a longer term.
All right, almost like buckets of money that we want to be thinking about. Important insights there, Lynn. Here's how you can reach Lynn and the team at Dedicated Financial Services. Up next, we'll explain the advantages and disadvantages of retiring, plus some tips on how to find that fulfillment in retirement. That's coming up next when MaxAMAZIng Your Retirement continues.
You have a club for every scenario, a driver for the long holes, wedges to get you over the hazards, and a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
Your first day of retirement. What will you wake up to? Freedom? Time? Adventure? Your ideal retirement doesn't just have to come alive in your dreams. Awaken to your new reality. Awaken your spirit, your vision. It's not a dream. It's your next chapter, your future, and it's in reach. Next generation retirement doesn't happen by accident. Plan for your bright future. Awaken to what's possible.
Everybody needs a plan. If Carol's ever going to retire, she needs a plan. So does Bob, if he ever wants to catch a break. Jim and Susan, they need a plan. to keep the beat going. And Puddles over there? Yeah, he's going to need a plan too. You? Yeah, you probably need a plan. Whoever you are, whatever you do, you can use a plan for retirement. We can help.
Thanks for joining us today on MaxAMAZIng Your Retirement with Lynn Haydachok. Lynn, let's talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of retiring. Let's weigh the pros and cons here.
Yes, I think some advantages and disadvantages are real apparent. The one advantage is you have the freedom, right? You have the freedom, I call the unlimited discretionary time to enjoy life and pursue your life goals, hopes, and dreams and become who you want to become. The potential disadvantage is more than just not having the same amount of income.
Okay.
And that potential disadvantage is the fulfillment that you had received from your work. You have to replace that.
Right. Because so many of us, we identify with who we are when we're working, and then all of that changes. That can be a real disadvantage to you when you retire and you lose your sense of who you were, right?
Absolutely right. There are some folks that their work does not mean much to them.
Sure.
They don't, they just work for the paycheck. And I really feel sorry for folks who are in that place, but there are a lot of folks who are that way. But most folks that I work with, they really enjoy their work. Their work was a part of who they are. And they leave that. So, when they're working, they're doing a certain job, whatever it is. It could be, a carpenter. It could be, having their own business. They retire, and their identity is not that anymore. So they're retired, whatever. So they're in this place in retirement that they have a void in who they are, and they need to replace that with whatever they get involved with, whatever they apply themselves to.
So for people who did feel very fulfilled during their working years and then they retire, how do they replace that? How can we help make our retirement fulfilling?
Well, I'll tell you what people often do is they try to replace that by having more fun.
Sure.
And they get more, they play fun and games, and they think that somehow that's going to create the fulfillment. But ultimately, your fulfillment starts with your identity, who you are. And whatever we do, whatever we get involved with, that tends to build into our identity. But there's also the whole idea of a life purpose. Right. So the life purpose is really where you start getting into your fulfillment. The stuff that you do with your life really matters. You're making a difference in the world. You're being a change agent. And that's related to your identity. So your identity transfers into your life purpose, and that's when you start having fulfillment. So when people were working, pick the job wherever you want. You had this job, you're serving people, and you had fulfillment through what you're doing. So one of the disadvantages of retiring is that you no longer get that fulfillment from when you were working.
Right. And I get the sense, Lynn, because you can understand what people enjoy doing, how they find fulfillment in retirement, the relationship you have with the retirees you work with your clients, is certainly more than transactional. You really spend a lot of time getting to know these folks to help guide them through their retirement.
There's really a couple aspects of what I do. One is, as a certified financial planner, I have an ongoing relationship with folks from the financial end, but also as a certified life coach, I have that life connection part of it, which quite frankly for me, even though I've been in a financial planning services for 30 years, it's that connection, it's that coaching part, it's helping people make their life all it can be. That's what I find most engaging with clients, and that's, I think, what clients really, that's what attracts clients to work with me.
Right. Or talk a little bit more about that whole idea of having that client relationship. What is this process like when someone starts to work with you and they're preparing to retire? Walk us through a little bit about what that looks like.
Okay. So let me tell you how it doesn't look like.
Okay.
What it doesn't look like is, hey, I have a financial product for you.
Yes.
Hey, I have, a financial strategy for you. That's not how it looks like. It will eventually perhaps get to that, but it starts with getting a chance to know folks at a deep level. When I work with folks, I would say, other than family, I probably know my clients better than anyone does.
Yeah.
They tell me stuff that they don't tell anybody. So I know I know their life story. I know their financial life story, how they built their wealth, what it took. Maybe they inherited money, or just struggles and strains of getting to that place. So, and that really shapes them, who they are as individuals, right? And so when people retire, they don't become different people. When they retire with more wealth or less wealth, they're not a different person. They're the same person, because it took 60 years or however long they were living to get to that place. So they're here, and it's not now that they're here as a complete person with some financial resources. How do we align the two, right? It's a track of financial preparation along with personal preparation in retirement, so that life is all it can be, so it can meet our life goals, hopes, and dreams.
And Len, I'm guessing after all this time you've spent with people helping them prepare for retirement, when someone experiences a loss or a significant change, I'm guessing you're one of the first people that they're going to call as well when that happens. Yes,
I might even tear up, but I go to a lot of funerals.
Yeah.
And it's just a real time of connecting with folks, because it's not about money. That's what people don't understand. It's not about money. It's about how money helps people connect to whatever's important to them. Right. And so it could be experiences. It could be making an impact with your money. And so, yeah, we have just it seems like claims that we help families deal with on a regular basis.
Sure. And I'm guessing for a lot of people, we've talked before about what they might want to spend money on and what they might want to do in retirement. It's all going to vary. But at the end of the day, I imagine most people just want to make sure that they will be okay and their loved ones will be okay. And those are some of the conversations that you have with those folks.
Absolutely. And, when you have couples, one spouse passing wants to make sure the other spouse is okay. It's whether male or female, doesn't matter. There's always this, I want to make sure that my spouse is cared for, right? Because that's life. I mean, that's people connecting. That's that intersection between two individuals sharing important parts of their life, right? And money often is part of that.
Right, and at the end of the day, nothing just works out by accident. That's why we talk about having some of these rather difficult but important conversations and getting some of the planning done in advance.
Right, and the sad thing is a lot of times people avoid planning because it's difficult.
Right.
And what I tell folks, you think this is difficult. How difficult is it going to be if you don't have a plan?
Right, a lot harder. Those are really important insights there, Len, so I appreciate that. Up next, Len will share some tips for how you can find fulfillment in retirement. But first, here's how you can reach Len and the team at Dedicated Financial Services. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Where would you go if you could go anywhere? What would you do if you could do anything? How would you fill your days? Who would you spend them with? When you retire, what will you explore? Let us show you how a complete retirement plan can open your world to endless possibilities. Explore your retirement.
Everybody needs a plan. If Carol's ever going to retire, she needs a plan. So does Bob, if he ever wants to catch a break. Jim and Susan, they need a plan to keep the beat going. And Puddles over there? Yeah, he's going to need a plan too. You? Yeah, you probably need a plan. Whoever you are, whatever you do, you can use a plan for retirement. We can help.
You have a club for every scenario. A driver for the long holes. Wedges to get you over the hazards. And a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
Thanks for joining us today on MaxAMAZIng Your Retirement with Len Haydachok. Len is sharing his insights on preparing for retirement and how to navigate this different stage of life. Len, let's talk a little bit about this concept of core soul needs that you developed.
Yes. Core soul needs for me is essential for folks to live a fulfilling life. When I look at all the things in life that matter to me, it really boils down to 4 core soul needs. It's a sense of a meaningful identity, a life purpose, relationships, which I call love, and a sense of well-being, which I call peace. So for me to be a whole, fulfilled person, I need a sense of who I am, what I'm doing that makes a difference, people I'm doing it with, people I'm sharing life with, and peace in my life.
Tell me about how determining our core soul needs, how that plays out when you're helping people prepare for retirement.
Well, when we're talking about preparing for retirement, most folks look at just the financial piece.
Right.
But there's a personal preparation piece that's important, because when people are working, they're meeting their sense of identity from work if what they're doing is an important part of who they are.
Right.
And the work they're doing is meaningful. They're making a difference in the world, and the work is part of their life purpose. They have a relationship with their coworkers or the customers or clients that they work with. So that meets their relationship need, their love need, and they have a sense of well-being. They have a predictable work schedule, predictable income, everything kind of falls in play, right? So when people don't prepare personally, when they prepare financially but not personally, and then they retire, it's here, well, they may not be in a place where they're meeting their core soul needs. They may not be meeting a sense of identity, life purpose, love and peace.
Right, and if you feel so unsettled in those areas, it seems as if you would struggle then having enjoyment and fulfillment and enjoying this time of life that you've been working so hard to save for this whole time.
Absolutely. So if you look at just the sense of identity, right? Because identity, everything really revolves around identity. Who you are really determines life purpose. Who you are really determines who you seek to have relationships with. Who you are and your peace related to that affects your sense of well-being. So if we're looking at, how do I spend my time enjoying myself without having a settledness of who you are, what matters to you in life, it's really not possible to really pursue anything. Then when you throw the money component to that, it's like irrelevant. Who even cares about money if you don't even know what your life matters?
Right, so important that we take care of this other perspective first. I do want to talk for a moment though about the money side of this. Talk a little bit about when we're talking about finding fulfillment in retirement, what role does the financial side play in that?
Really, it depends on what you're looking for from life, right? So it depends on what I call your life goals, hopes, and dreams. There are 3 life goals, hopes, and dreams, which I talk about. And so the way I discuss that is, if you think about everything you could possibly do that would make your life amazing, it's going to fit into 3 categories. I call them apexes. Either your experiences and relationships, a sense of accomplishment, or having an impact. And how you view your life and how you want to make, or I should say, what your life goals, hopes, and dreams are, will determine how to structure your money accordingly.
Okay. When we're talking about how we structure our money and how we put together what we might call a financial plan, what do you say goes into that solid plan for structuring our money for retirement?
Okay, so every plan needs to deal with things like income, growth for flexibility. It has to cover such things as covering risk, how we leave money to loved ones. All plans have to have that, but the question is, how relatively important is one versus another?
Right.
So for folks who their life goals, hopes, and dreams, if they revolve around experiences and relationships, well, that may take money. So the income plan might be more important. For folks who want to have accomplishment with their money, what's more important for them is to accumulate their wealth. So it's more of a growth strategy, even though they're retired, and a lot of folks shift from growth to spending or distributing and preserving their wealth. Some folks still want to grow it. And so it's a growth strategy. And then some folks, they want to distribute wealth to loved ones while they're alive or when they pass away. And if it's when they pass away, we need to do more estate planning.
Right.
So it's very specific to what their life goals, hopes, and dreams are.
Right, but none of this will happen by accident. These things won't just fall into place. That's why it's so important that we have a conversation with someone like you who can not only figure out the spreadsheet and the money side, but who we are and how do we start working toward who we want to be in retirement.
That's exactly right. Too many people start that process too late.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have different programs I have where I make myself available to have just a conversation with someone over the phone after the program, and invariably people tell me, "Well, I'm not ready to retire yet." And my comment is, this is exactly why we need to have a conversation, because you haven't retired yet. You don't want to be in a place where, I'm here retired and now what do I do, right?
Right.
Because it's not just financial discussion, it's a personal preparation that the money has to go alongside of.
So there's a period when we're pre-retirees, as we're getting closer to retirement, that's when we really want to start thinking about making this transition and then finding somebody who can help us navigate through that transition into retirement.
Exactly, because you need the personal and the financial. They have to go alongside each other. And so that's why the way I structure what I do as a certified life coach and a certified financial planner, we have something I call the MaxAMAZIng Your Retirement life money system. Now it's also interesting, I think it's interesting because it's different from what our industry does. Life comes first. It's what we want our lives to look like before we start talking about financial plans and, of course, before we talk about financial instruments.
Right. Len, what would you say is your biggest takeaway for our viewers today as we've been talking about finding enjoyment and fulfillment in retirement?
Well, for me, it's really a strategic view. We have to really be thinking about what exactly do we want our lives to look like? How are we spending our time? Are we looking for pleasurable activities, or do we really want to focus on things that are more fulfilling? Maybe we don't play pickleball 8 days a week. Maybe we, and I love pickleball. I'm not saying that I love pickleball, but maybe we think about things that are more related to our core identity that we need to pursue.
Right. Such important insights today, Len. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for watching the show today. Here's how you can reach Len and the team at Dedicated Financial Services. For Len Haydachok, I am Jen Rizak. We wish you a great day and a MaxAMAZIng retirement, and we'll see you next time.